Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health, heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we do always encourage you to call in to join in today. And I was thinking about this the other day as I was speaking to our guests. I think in all the years I've done this show, I've never done a show on geriatrics, gerontology. Hey, is it because maybe I'm, as a boomer, just starting to enter that period myself? I don't know, but what I do know is our guest has a lot of practice and a lot to contribute in this area. His name is Dr. Eric Shapira. We're going to be talking to him way out on the West Coast. He consented to get up early with us today. He's written a book on the subject. I think a catchy title, too. Where's that title? A New Wrinkle. What I Learned from Older People Who Never Acted Their Age. That's the title of the book. But the theme of the book is how to age. What are the keys to aging gracefully? Anyway, you get the idea. All you boomers out there that are hitting the senior years certainly want to listen. If you're already in your senior years, see if this stuff's going to be applicable to you. If you want to give us a call to ask a question to Dr. Shapira or make a comment, the number, as always, will be 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. We'll get with Dr. Shapira right after that first break today. Now, looking at some calendar issues. Well, calendars filling up. Don't really have anything to report. I will say I will report this. I was out there yesterday at the airport Marriott. I met a number of you folks who were also there too. Some that I never mentioned before that tell me they're steady listeners to the program. Unfortunately, maybe some of them won't be able to listen to the show today because they're heavily involved with their treatment seminar out there with Dr. Ed Condrat, who finally did come to town. He and his naturopathic physician, Dr. O. I actually don't know her full name. I just call her Dr. O. Everybody else did, so I did too. And my deep respects to that lovely young lady. She's got a full name. Anyway, she's Dr. O to me right now. And we spent an enjoyable time talking to the crowd. Also, I was there in full force with the chips. So I was chipping away at those folks who wanted. A lot of people, by the way, approached me for the sleep chip as well as the energy chip. And the pain chip was lesser requested. But I was just hoping that I could get some phone call, something to find out how that all went so I could get some feedback on the Ciara chips. So might as well mention it. I keep bringing these chips wherever I go, and I place them on the people that attend for free. And I'm just anxious to find out if they get a response to this chip. Now, of course, if you've been listening to the show, you know that we have these transparent holographic chips that have quite a bit of information on them. They literally will stick onto the skin wherever you place them. When it comes to the pain issue, you always place that directly over top of where the pain is. By the way, and a good question came out of the audience yesterday, which I know we addressed before, but I don't keep on addressing, and I want to make sure I do today, which is I know the question from the audience was, well, what if you had muscular dystrophy and you have pain because of it? And it just triggered me to mention, as I should each and every time I talk about these chips, the chips do not do a thing to correct the cause of pain. So pain due to muscular dystrophy, or pain due to arthritis, or pain due to a sports injury, or uh, fibromyalgia, or whatever, the underlying condition is not affected when using these chips. The pain itself is, and sometimes in a fantastic way. So you have to be certain what the cause of your pain is. It wouldn't be wise just to slap a chip on you. If you have a new pain, sort of just recently developed, and you have not mentioned to your doctor, you have no diagnosis as to why you have that pain, it may not be a good idea just to be slapping chips on in that particular setting. You need to get the medical input to find out why. And then once we're sure of that, then you can use the chip for the pain purposes that it was designed for. Anyway, if anybody's interested, come on in, get a consult here with me at the office. I'll be happy to place a chip on you while you're here. If you're not going to be coming in, geography being as what it might be, I may be geographically undesirable, although you got to look pretty far away for that to be operational. But head to the website at www.drcourtney.ciara.com. Dr. Courtney is spelled with a DR and no period at the end of it. Dr. Courtney, Courtney, Ciara, CIEAURA.com. And you'll see my name appear on the opening page. And just keep clicking along, and you can purchase these chips on your own. The percentages of people who are responding are well up into the 90%. I think I can mention that with respect to the pain chip. I don't have a great amount of input still with respect to the energy issue and the sleep issue as I do have with placing the pain chip, because I place that on them, and then it's happening, they're responding literally sometimes within seconds to minutes. Awfully impressive. www.drcourtney.ciara.com. Through the Spirit, of course, also promoted by us and also by Deborah Ray. That's that great tasting elixir you can take at the beginning of your day, equivalent to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables in terms of its nutrition. Comes in the form of 14 biblical fruit purees. Tastes awful good. Alkalinized minerals from the Dead Sea, frankincense and myrrh as herbs, and then ultimately there's Veritrol too. So it's the taste for sure, and all the knowledge of all the great ingredients in there. To get involved with Fruit of the Spirit, if you want to try some, you can use an 800 number. You keep hearing that 800 number on the show as Deborah does her spots for us. 1-800-442-3793. 1-800-442-3793. Also, for those who technologically are inclined to do so, you can order it online at fruitspirit.net. Fruitspirit.net. Also, continue to put out the APB if you're diabetic, and based on the supplies that you probably have to go out searching for each and every month, you can have those delivered at your front door, as well as a pretty snazzy looking pair of shoes, all insurance covered. And we have Alan Ridgway. We brought him on the show. You'll find him in the archives. You can listen to him if you have never heard his name mentioned before. But we have Alan actually come to the office, or he'll go to your house and measure you and specifically form a form-fitted, personalized shoe, which pretty snazzy and wear very well. So that is about it for the preliminary information. We're moving along now. We passed spring on Saturday. Here we are, the 22nd of March. Gloomy as it may be outside, what a gorgeous weekend. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I'm looking forward to up-and-comings in the near future. And that is about it. Let's do this. Let's take a short break. And in the interim, I'll go find Dr. Eric Shapira out in the West Coast. I think in the southern part of the West Coast. And they're going to be talking about aging and aging gracefully by someone certified, a whole bunch of credentials in the area of gerontology. First time topic for us, and it's probably well overdue. Be right back in a moment.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Honey, just got the word. The company's new health plan has a $5,000 deductible. We have to make sure nobody gets sick this year. Remember what those doctor's visits cost for last year's colds and flu? Oh, sorry. I've got to go. Love you.
We can do that. We can cut the fastest lunches. Soda, that's a lot of sugar. We could all take that evening walk. And hey, I heard a program about fruit. Fruit of the spirit. What did they say? 1 ounce, the equivalent of 5 servings of fruit with herbs and minerals. We could add some to our breakfast protein shake. Fruit of the Spirit's unique whole fruit puree. Fruit of the Spirit contains fresh fruits native to the Holy Land and alkalizes minerals from the Dead Sea with no added sugar. Fruit of the Spirit's unique product from 5 years of work from science-based nutritional experts. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, convenient, affordable, and delicious. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health, heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you on this Monday version of the show, and swinging to a topic we've never really had before. It's about time. Are you a boomer? Are you ready to move into that new category of individuals of seniors? Are you doing so kicking and screaming the entire way? Are you doing so gracefully? Aging gracefully is our topic today. An expert with us is Dr. Eric Shapira. Listen to the byline here, folks. Practiced dentistry for over 30 years on the Half Moon Bay Coast side. Ooh, that's picturesque in terms of the term. Received master's degrees in the clinical gerontology from Notre Dame de Namur University. Is an educator and taught courses in healthy aging and successful aging, as well as courses in geriatric aesthetic dentistry and special patient care. He holds an MHA, a Master's in Health Administration from the University of Phoenix, board member of the American Association of Senior Peer Counselors, and bilingual senior peer counselor for the San Mateo County Department of Mental Health. You get in the picture, folks. Very well qualified individual. Comes us today, allowing us to interrupt him in an ungodly hour out there in the West Coast. Let's say good morning to him. And welcome, Dr. Shapira. Welcome aboard today.
Good morning, Dr. Courtney. Thanks for having me.
An absolute pleasure. I had mentioned to you as we talked off air the other day, all these years of doing a show, 10 years plus, never had done a show on this. And maybe because I'm very shortly entering in, I'm a boomer, and I'll be entering into these twilight years myself, and probably about time we all start doing some shows on this, because I don't think many of us are entering this phase of our lives gracefully. And you say you've been pretty much adept at being able to help people enter these senior years and do so gracefully. Talk a bit about this is a bitter pill to swallow. Is it a bitter pill to swallow for many who are along this timeline progression? Are people doing this gracefully or doing it very clumsily?
Well, it's a good question. I think, for the most part, the boomers that I've come in contact with, or that have come in contact with me in my book, A New Wrinkle, what I learned from older people who never acted their age is denial. They're all in Egypt. They're not looking at what's out there and what the possibilities are in terms of diseases of aging or older, and they want to, this is a feel-good, touchy-feely, feel-good, visually oriented, fast-paced, fast food society of boomers that we're in. So there, in the book, there's a new paradigm on aging. You're not really a senior until you've reached the age of 70, basically, in this new paradigm. You're a young adult.
Oh, I got quite a few years left before I can hit that one then. All right.
Of course you do. You're a young adult between 29 and 40. You're an adult 40 to 55, and middle age is 55 to 70. It's a whole new ball game, and that's because we're living longer. If you were around 1900, your average lifespan would be about 47 years young. And today, for men, it's almost 80, and for women, it's 84 to 86. So we're living a lot longer, and I think because of that, we need to be prepared. And so I've kind of put together a little blueprint for boomers on aging, and the first thing is that Boy Scout motto: be prepared, be flexible, because what we're looking at is change, and it's constant. That's the only constant in life is change. So we need to look at that in both ourselves and our own immediate environment, and in our lives and in our world, and what's going to happen to us as things change.
I should mention again, as you had already done so, and I'm going to mention it many more times, a book written with a lot of experience behind it, ladies and gentlemen, entitled A New Wrinkle: What I Learned from Older People Who Never Acted Their Age. You've been around, this has been something, how does one determine that they want to specialize? I don't know. I know I have a lot of medical colleagues. I don't have a single one who's a gerontologist. I don't know why, but I don't, probably because there aren't many of them. There aren't really many gerontologists.
Well, there's not very many gerontologists, and there's less geriatricians. A geriatrician is a physician who deals only with the aging individual, or I might say elder people over the age of 85. The gerontologist is a person who has a degree, like myself. I have a degree in clinical gerontology, which is more hands-on. I do basically what a clinical social worker does. I mean, I do assessments, cognitive assessments, mental assessments, physical assessments. I do home safety evaluations and analyses, and I do a lot of counseling with individuals. My degree allows me to do that. However, there's no licensing body in gerontology, which is crazy because you've got 80 million baby boomers coming to the fore.
Yeah.
They promised us that we'd be grandfathered in if and when there was a license, but there's too much lobby against it from other organizations such as the marriage and family therapists and the psychologists and the social workers. They capture the field in psychotherapy and counseling. And I don't do therapy, I do counseling for individuals, and I do mostly what I see are people in crisis, and I've got a lot of that going on right now. So I wanted to get back to, first of all, I've got a website for my book. It's newwrinklebook.com.
Okay, fair enough. I'll write that down. Go ahead.
My book's on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, and you can request it from any bookstore. And I have a corporation company that I have. It's called Aging Mentor Services, and my website for that is agingmentorservices.com, where you can read about some of the things that I do and can do for people and individuals. And this week I have a phone conference with three sisters who are in different areas who are concerned about their aging parents, who are 87 years young, the two of them. And this is a lot of times, this is what I do, is counsel people on the telephone about making decisions in crisis mode. 2 weeks ago, I talked to these sisters in person. We all got together, and I did kind of a little assessment of what their needs were, and they felt a lot better and less frustrated with the situation after they talked with me. But now they've let it go for a couple of weeks. I've been doing some research for these ladies on where we might assign their parents for future living situation, what facilities or what places they might like to live in the rest of their days. But now they are both injured.
The parents.
The parents. The father fell down.
Yeah.
She said, when we met with you, we were in crisis mode. Now both our parents are in the hospital. The mother got an infection, and had to go into the hospital, and the dad took a fall and that put him in critical care. And now they're thinking, this lady wrote to me, I'm reminded about how quickly things shift at this stage. And this is very, very true. So the boomers have to be prepared to be flexible with change, and so around their parents, because most boomers that I talk to are in the sandwich generation. They're caught between their parents and their children, and they're finding themselves spending more time with their parents than they are with their kids. Their kids are older, and so the parents become the kids. And, if you add, these parents are each 87 years young, so if you add the 8 and the 7, they're teenagers. They're 15, and they want to be independent, and they don't want to do what their kids want them to do if they're cognizant, and if they're not cognizant, the mother is not cognizant in this case, then it really doesn't matter. The kids have to do what they think is right for the parents to keep them comfortable and safe. So right now they're at home with a caregiver, and if the caregiver was paying attention, the father wouldn't have fallen down and dislocated his hip or whatever he did. So we need to plan to work and work to plan. We need to have a plan about where we're going and how we're going to get there, because if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, thanks to the great American philosopher Yogi Berra's comments. When you get to the Y in the road, take it. So, we've got a big faction of our society over 65 now that aren't working, and that's not by choice. They've been laid off. Our society's underemployed to some extent. And about 20% of these people, 20 to 23% of these people are reinventing themselves to do exactly what I did. I was a dentist for over 30 years, and I had a neck injury. And I looked in the mirror one day, and I said, who am I? I had an epiphany. I think we tend to identify ourselves by what we do and not really who we are. I'm the same guy I was, many years ago. I'm just the sum total of all my experiences, and I had to realize that, I may not be practicing dentistry at this point, but I still am Eric Shapira, the guy who studied dentistry, the guy who teaches dentistry, and now I exchanged one caregiving profession for another, gerontology for dentistry, and it's almost more of a need than my dental practice was. I spent a lot of time, a lot of years educating people about oral health and how to take care of themselves, and now I'm doing that, triple fold with people on how to take care of yourself for the future. And we're all aging, Dr. Dennis, we're all aging, but being old is a choice, I think, in life. And I have an 85-year young client who said, aging is not for sissies. And so if you think you're old, put a B in front of it and be bold. Because being old is a choice that we make. I think if you're infirm and you're losing your cognition and your ability to think, then okay, maybe you want to see yourself as being old, but I know a lot of people, and I wrote about them in this book with vignettes, who are older than 80 years old and who don't think that they're old. They've had good lives. They've been active their whole lives. They have and continue to do wonderful things with their lives. And, I just read about an 86-year-old man who started his 9th business, if you can believe that. He starts a business, he makes it run, he sells it, and he comes up with new products that helps the society, and then he moves on to the next thing. And he's an amazing individual, and he's keeping his mind sharp by doing it. So if you're going to retire, then be creative, and have a plan for that too. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, because I'm intrigued. We unfortunately live out here in the East, always sort of figure, I think I wouldn't be too far off the mark by saying, you folks out there in California usually set the trend for the rest of us, okay? Are you that further advanced out there in this area of aging? And
No.
Are we on equal par? Because it'd be one of the first times, if it turns out that we're equal, it'd be one of the first times I think is actually so.
No, because of all the people that I'm talking to, especially around my book, A New Wrinkle, most people have the same questions, and there are many, many, many people in the same crises all over the place. It's kind of a pandemic, if you will. I think that it's no different here than we set trends for one thing, but sure, we're looking at something that's inherently human, you know, and so we may be the first people to have a new cell phone by Google because Google's here in Silicon Valley. But for the most part, we're not the first people to have older individuals or boomers or sandwich generation people who have the same problem. We're all human. We're going through the same thing. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it. That's why I said it's clandestine. It's people are in denial. They think that they're alone when they're really not. And as I said before, also I see people in crisis every day, or I talk to people who are in crisis. I had a 25-year-old woman call me whose dad had a massive heart attack, and he's lying in intensive care, cardiac care, and all his organs are failing, and she found my card in his house. Well, he got my card to ask me questions about his mother, he's passed away a year ago, and at the same time, he wanted to know what he had to do, and I tried to tell him he needed a trust for his kids and so on and so forth, but he never did any of that. And so they found my card and called me, and they had to make a decision as to whether to keep the dad on life support with hopes that he would come out of this, or take him off everything because he left no advance directives. And, you know, everybody should have that. Everybody needs a power. There's a lot of different documents that people need to think about and people should think about having. One of them is a durable power of health care and health care directives, or how you want to be treated if you can't or don't have any control over yourself at some point and you're in a situation where it's a live or die situation. The doctor says to the kids, well, we're going to have to pull the plug. What do you want to do? Well, they want to know what Dad's wishes were. Dad can't talk to them. Dad's in a coma, and they have to make a decision. Then they call me and they want me to make the decision for them, and I can't.
It's a tough one, yes, exactly.
So all I can do is meet with them and gather their feelings and throw the facts at them in front of them, acknowledge their feelings, be empathic, and then get them to make a decision that they're all comfortable with, even though it's an uncomfortable situation. And if they all make that decision together, there's going to be no guilt, and there's going to be no remorse. There's going to be grieving, because now they're in a situation where there's loss involved. So when I lost my profession of dentistry of over 30 years, a profession that I loved, I was grieving, and I had to, you know, if you grieve too long, you're going to get depressed. So you have to be able to handle that and deal with that. And I had both. I had a grieving for the loss of my profession, but I got depressed because I didn't know what I was going to do or who I was at that point. That's when I had that identity crisis. And so I had to distinguish between the two. I had to get over the depression, and I had to allow myself to grieve in an adequate time, because you just don't stop grieving right away. But it took some counseling on my part to overcome all this and then move on and be productive and be creative around that. And this is what happens with people who are getting laid off. I know of a gentleman who worked for 45 years, and he tended to identify himself around his job. He got laid off. He got despondent and depressed, and for 6 years he sat around and watched TV and didn't do anything because he was so depressed. He couldn't find a job, and all of a sudden he got a job, and the day he was supposed to go to work, he had a heart attack and died.
Oh.
So his wife put the acceptance letter for the job in the coffin with him. She thought that was a good thing to do, because that was like one of the only things that he had desired for so many years, because his whole self-worth and self-respect and identity was centered around that job. His wife couldn't even get him out of his blue funk. So these are things to think about that are inherent in our population, not just in California, but everywhere. And it's happening everywhere. And because we're living longer, and because our parents are living longer, we're going to be subjected to more traumas and challenges of the aging process, such as memory loss or dementia or chronic disease of one sort or another, or becoming infirm, and we need to be prepared to deal with those things.
Let me ask you this, because I think you set up a number of different scenarios. One that I can certainly relate to, and probably the majority of listeners can too, is when you're dealing with family issues that involves kids having to make decisions for their aging parents. You talked about the three sisters a moment ago, and the fact that in that case, I guess the mother is not mentally competent enough to be able to contribute to the decision-making process.
Correct.
The father, although he might be, he's still hospitalized. But I think we could really benefit from what is sort of the checklist. What are the things that we, as the children of aging parents, need to be looking for to realize that we got to step in before something terrible happens? Okay, I mean, what would be the sort of checklist that we need to go through when looking at our own parents to know, you know what, we need to step in now and be making some decisions. They're not going to make these decisions on their own. They're going to be unsafe, I guess, if we don't step in, but make us feel good as children of these aging parents on those decisions, so that we know, well, at least this is the way we're supposed to conduct ourselves, because I don't think we know. I don't think we have a clue.
Okay. You asked for it. You got it. Here
Okay,
we go.
good. Here we go.
I'm going to brainstorm with you. First of all, I don't advocate, and I said this in my book, I don't advocate going around cognitive parents. I advocate powwowing.
Cognitive parents, okay,
That's,
ones that can make decisions.
That's
You
right.
don't. You should not be stepping in as one of the offspring.
Well, you can address your concerns, and it's always good to have someone like me as a facilitator, because I taught communication to health professionals for 30 years, and I still teach it, and I teach it to people, especially boomers, on how to deal with their parents, and I'm going to be giving some workshops on this. I haven't completely defined how I want to do it yet, but I'm going to do this because I think it's really important, and especially in this process. So you want to powwow with your parents who are cognitive, and you want to assess how they feel about their future and what plans you want to determine what plans they have. So that's the first step. If they don't have any plans, then we have to do several things. The first thing is to, as I said before, make sure they have a durable power of health care, how they want to be treated when they're in a situation where they can't control their health care. Secondly, we want to make sure that their insurance is up to date, and that they have medical insurance or Medicare or Medicaid or whatever the entity is that they might have. If they have a trust, we need to look at that, and we need to see what kind of a trust it is, what's in the trust. You might want to depend on this one for a trust and estate attorney or an elder law attorney, because the law, well, it may change now with this health care bill that was just passed yesterday.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the law has a clause that states if you don't protect your assets 5 years in advance of when you have a need to go into an assisted living of some sort or a skilled nursing facility, the government will take your assets except a house and $2,000 and pay for that care as long as you're there, and then it'll go to subsistence. So you need to protect your inheritance and your parents' money, excuse me, in order to have what you need to take care of them, especially if they stay in the home for care. That's the other thing you need to evaluate, is to ask them if they want to stay in the home.
This is a big question here, big one, I'll face.
And if they do, and most people want to stay independent, but that means by being in their home, then you need to plan and provide for care and the type of care that they might need in a home situation, a caregiver, and then you have to look around for that. And in my book, I have a whole list of things on how to choose a caregiver. You want to make sure that you have someone in the family or several people in the family who share the power of attorney, and that means that they have the right, when the parents are not able to care for themselves or not cognizant anymore, to control the financial assets of the parent. And you may even want to go so far as to sign a conservatorship agreement so that one of the children or the oldest child or whoever becomes the conservator of the parent, of the parents or parent, in order to control the estate. Besides the power of attorney, they have a conservatorship. And How are we doing so far?
Well, we're doing okay now.
Okay.
That big hurdle is one probably I want to focus on a little bit, which is when is it that the individual really has to have either the caregiver or really needs to be put in a more skilled
That's
facility?
my next.
Oh, that's what you're going to do anyway. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the a priori being independent. I mean, if it was me, I'd like to stay in my home as long as possible. But a caregiver is going to cost almost as much as a facility. If the person is still cognitive, they're still ambulatory. My mother's 87. She still drives. She still has her marbles. She's getting a little feeble, and she forgets a little bit here and there. But she's, for the most part, pretty much a great person and moving around and doing her thing. Can't afford her house anymore after 65 years, so we're going through the same thing other people are going through, and that's moving her out of that house and into a residential facility where she's actually going to have a small apartment and be able to enjoy the amenities in this place. And if she wants to eat in their commissary, she can, and she'll have a small kitchen if she wants to cook. So that's a residential facility, and those things are fairly costly. So she may just have enough money for the next 6 or 7 years. By the time she's 93 or 94, we'll have to back up 10 and punt. If she becomes a little more infirm and can't handle, and this is the key thing, your normal ADLs, your activities of daily living, meaning if you can't cook for yourself, dress yourself, brush your teeth, brush your hair, or shower or go to the bathroom yourself, then you're going to need assisted living. Those are the things that we look for in terms of making the decision between residential care and assisted living care. And if you have medical problems associated with your condition, coupled with the lack of ADLs, then you're going to want to go and consider a skilled nursing facility where you have 24/7 nursing care besides the assisted living situation.
It would be the most expensive of all, right?
No, and usually that's covered by Medicaid or Medicare, just for the most part. If people are lucky enough to be able to have afforded long-term care insurance, then they'll have some money to kick in through that insurance to offset the cost of assisted living or skilled nursing, but not necessarily residential care, because you need a prescription from your doctor in order to qualify for that, for the use of the long-term care insurance. And if you're going to invest in long-term care insurance, then you need to look at the fact that there should be an escalation clause in terms of the cost of living increases in that policy. And those things are not 100%. They don't pay for everything. But you need to investigate different kinds of policies that are going to give you maximum benefits. And those are the things that we ask people to look at in the process. This 87-year-old couple that I'm dealing with now with the three sisters, the three daughters, they have a government pension. Each of them gets some money from the government. So they have, besides their Social Security, they have a pension from being government or military employees. And it's just barely enough to allow them to go into an assisted living and have most of it covered depending on the type of care they need. So if there's a basic fee in an assisted living situation or a residential facility, and there are also board and care homes, which are a lot less expensive, but you get a lot less care. And sometimes they border on elder abuse, and you have to be careful with some of the care you don't get. So those things need to be investigated very thoroughly before you go into a situation like that to see what kind of care you're getting, because they're all different prices for each level of care. Right now we're dealing with the big hotel chains like Hyatt Regency. Hyatt's got a tiered living situation where you can buy a condo for $1 million and you can stay in it for as long as you're healthy, and then you step down into the next tier and go into assisted living when you can't care for yourself. Within the same facility, they sell your condo, they credit you towards your assisted living care, and then you pay a small fee, a monthly fee on top of that. And then when you can't handle the assisted living and you need skilled nursing, you step down into that. So it's called tiered living. And a lot of people are getting into that kind of a thing, and it's very costly.
what in anyone's individual area, I gather that so you get the three sisters to tell me that although they want to make moves with the best interest of their parents in mind, they've sought you out because you can help provide the.
I can give them options.
You can give them their options. Now, is there anyone that that we would recognize in our area, or could you advise someone? Where are the resources? What are the names of the people in their professions that have resources that are able to assist people going through these very same things as the sisters are going through right now, but in our area here?
Every county should have an office of aging and adult services. So you can go through your county office of aging and adult services, or your Department of Social Work, and ask for someone to help you delineate how you go about doing these things. You can also look for a gerontologist or a social worker, or sometimes a psychologist, but not so much a psychologist, because most of the time they're doing assessments, but they may or may not know about what I just talked about and the ramifications of all this financial material. So you can go to a state attorney that might help you with a good portion of this, but the rest of it falls on a gerontologist to help you with, or a social worker, and usually you might find that out through that Department of Aging Adult Services, and also they have conservative groups around, and the county's usually aware of that kind of a group, and you can also look up conservatorships. And those people have to be licensed and have to be appointed by the court in a case where a parent may not have anybody to help them if they have no children to help them, or a good friend.
Yeah, I would say, with my experience in medicine, being around hospitals, these kind of decisions have to be made at discharge for literally everybody,
right,
including the elderly. And so we would say, okay, let's consult social worker, social services.
They have discharge nurses that help with this through the Department of Social Services.
So that if you were a patient in a hospital, that's the perfect. It's sort of an automatic. But if you're not in a hospital situation,
right,
you said that the counties had to have an aging
adult services
department, sort of nationwide, which would be the place that you could go and find someone to help you out.
Yeah, and in the back of my book, A New Wrinkle, What I Learned from Older People Who Never Acted Their Age, there is a list of resources, which I spent a year on, if you can believe it. And there's a lot of different places you can look at in this book that might be able to help you. I've got Medicare numbers, I've got housing enablers, I've got...
great resource. Perfect.
I've got a ton of stuff in the back of this book. I actually had a friend call me and asked me for help. They had an aunt who was 97 years old, and they were paying for her care $7,000 a month in an assisted living somewhere in California, not where they live. And they asked me for help because the doctor just called hospice on this woman. And I said, well, let me look in my book for a minute. I went back to my book, and there's a number for the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization. I gave them that number, the phone number, and the website. I said, call them, get in touch with them, get a hospice in her area, make sure that you put her in there, and Medicare should help cover the costs once you're in hospice, and so be it. And she lived another 5 months. They saved $35,000 on that phone call, just because I had that reference handy in the back of my book.
Once again, the name of that book, A New Wrinkle, What I Learned from Older People Who Never Acted Their Age. Now, look, we are coming around that gun lap. Why don't we do this, Eric? Let's take a short break.
Okay.
If there's anybody out there who'd like to call up, have a specific question in mind, the number, of course, is always 412-825-6262. We're uncovering some issues that might even be painful for some, but in others, I'm sure you're in the ready position. You needed resources. The book appears to be one. Dr. Eric Shapira appears to be the guy. We've got him right now for at least the next 10 minutes, and I'll tell you what, we're going to have to bring him back because there's so many other questions I never got to today myself. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to be back in a moment with Dr. Eric Shapiro. You can call up in the interim if we hear you knock on the door. We'll let you in the store. Be right back.
Have you been to the doctor lately? Was fatigue top of your complaint list? Even if your doctor asks you what you eat, the recommended 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is a dream in your busy schedule. What if you learned of a product 5 years in the formulation that delivers 5 servings of fruits and minerals in just 1 ounce? That's right, it's Fruit of the Spirit. The blessings of Fruit of the Spirit are now formulated into a delicious whole fruit puree product rich in antioxidants and minerals. Your health is more than just a test result. It's a balance of physical, spiritual, and emotional factors. You work regularly to strengthen your faith. Let Fruit of the Spirit help cover your nutritional needs in a convenient and cost-effective ounce a day. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, 5 servings of fruits and minerals with no added sugars. That's 1-800-442-3793 for your good health. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you were looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Good morning and welcome back to AM Impact on Your Health. We're here on KHB 620. And as you know, we're with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. Today happens to be a Monday version of the show. First day, we're back together in the day of springtime. And we're talking to a gentleman, got a lot of information to give you with respect to the, aging gracefully, whether or not you're having some issues in your own family with your parents. Appears that that's our focus today. But there's so many other places to take this that I think there needs to be follow-up shows. We were talking off air about this. We're allowing you to ask questions if you have some on your mind. 412-825-6262 is the number to get into the store. I heard a knock at the door. Why don't we let him in right now? Say good morning and welcome aboard. You were Dr. Shapira.
Good morning. How are you today?
Very good. Go right ahead with your question.
Yes, my mother was put in a nursing home by myself and the doctor. And when she was placed in there, she was starting to get physical therapy. They injured her during physical therapy. She refused to go to physical therapy anymore. Now, they would not send the bills first 4 months like they're supposed to Medicare or by insurance companies. They just sent the bills to me. Do I have any recourse on that?
What is the dilemma? I'm missing it. Do you get the dilemma here, Dr. Shapiro?
I think it's hard to hear, but
the bills for the first 4 months to either Medicare or her insurance company.
Okay.
yeah. Did he when that parent went into the hospital? Did he sign a form? Did he co-sign his name into the form?
Did you sign a form yourself, sir, so that your parent could go into the facility?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes him liable for the cost.
Ah.
And that's part of the problem. If he signed it on behalf of the parent as a conservator or a power of attorney, then the funding would come from the parent. But if he signed it by himself without that jurisdiction, then he's liable for the cost. That's a common mistake that they don't tell you about. I just had a client like that who was on the hook for $86,000 worth of care, and they wouldn't bill Medicare or Medicaid because of the fact that the son signed the father into the hospital. The father didn't sign.
There appears to be the dilemma. What a whopper of a problem there.
That's a loophole.
There is a loophole, and they aren't telling you about what it really means when you're signing, I'm sure.
So he needs to see an attorney.
You need to see an attorney, sir.
I assume that Medicare would pay for it.
Well, because you signed, if I get this correctly, because you signed and you're not named as a conservator or anything other.
Signed as a relative, he's a guarantor.
Yeah, if you're just a relative, then by signing, without being told, they didn't tell you, but without being told, we've just learned that you're on the hook for whatever the cost of these services were, even though your parent was of Medicare age, and had it been handled in another way, you would have had their services covered. He just talked about someone on the hook for $86,000. You're going to have to get legal representation. Tell you right now, don't try to fight this on your own. You'll lose.
Right.
Okay? Get the help.
Oh, thank you.
All right. What?
I have power of attorney. Does that matter?
No. You need a professional attorney to help guide you through, because they will come at you for these expenses.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. What a whopper of a question. That
was a great question.
That was a great question. I hope you're getting the idea out there, ladies and gentlemen, that this is not to be taken willy-nilly. You would have thought, hey, the hospital's talking to me, and I'm the son, and I'm the oldest son.
That's why I talked about being prepared and having a plan.
Oh, my goodness gracious. What a great question. You were Dr. Eric Shapira talking about issues of aging. His book, of course, A New Wrinkle. And I always like the additional part of what I learned from older people who never acted their age is the title of the book. Dr. Shapira is helping us today as children who are trying to deal with issues of aging and their parents, cognitive or not, and that does seem to be a dividing line. And now this financial thing comes wailing by. And $86,000. Who knows what this gentleman may be on the hook for?
Right.
Is there? And of course you know this better than most. Is there really an avenue if he got legal representation to help him from this jam, or is it pretty much a foregone?
It's possible because he
wasn't advised.
He wasn't informed.
Yes, that's exactly right.
He may have some help on that.
Okay, so for all of you out there, and especially that gentleman,
and we want to make sure that these parents have Medicare, and that they're signed up for Medicare or Medicaid prior to needing a hospital situation, so that the hospital can be told that they have this. If they go into the hospital without it and expect them to sign up for it while they're in the hospital, it may not cover them, because it takes a while to process these things. Very
valuable information. You're with Dr. Eric Shapira. Those who want to get in, we're in the gun lap right now, coming around that home stretch. 412-825-6262. I'll listen for a knock at the door. As you can see, the information here could be quite valuable to you financially.
This may change too, Dennis.
Yeah, with what they did yesterday, who knows what the heck's going to happen. They're going to have to write a whole new book just on the regulations that spew off of
Somebody's already started.
Obamacare. Oh, goodness gracious. With the time we have, rather than trying to open up an additional can of worms that I believe will never quite be able to cover topics, obviously, we're going to talk off-air about bringing you back, I think, in a timely way, because really, we focused in on what the children of these parents can do, but we pretty much didn't really get into how the individual himself, and I'm glad to hear, I'm not a senior yet, or I'm not an elderly yet, because I'm not 70 or near it.
No.
But nonetheless, the definitions switch and change. But I really need to start planning now. And isn't the message, although we didn't talk about it much, the plans for how I want to be dealt with when I'm 70 better be initiated now. Don't be just like sneaking up on 70 and 69 and a half and thinking, now it's time to think about it. I'm going to get a feeling that your message is going to be start early and start designing your plan now. Fair enough.
Plan to work to plan, know yourself, be prepared for change, be flexible, learn about acceptance, keep yourself challenged, keep yourself cognitively challenged, social challenge, have intimacy in your life, and nurture your inner child. All those things will keep you youthful and protect you for the aging process. And if you become infirm or you become ill in some fashion, you'll have this all set down in writing, and it won't be a burden to your spouse, your children, or yourself, and you can heal quicker from whatever happens to you.
Good enough. Now we have another knock on the door. Come on in the store. You're with Dr. Eric Shapira. Go right ahead.
I was calling concerning, we're in our late 60s. Is it wise to purchase a nursing home, a long-term nursing home insurance? I'll hang up and I'll let you
Very good.
That.
Very good question. Go right ahead, Dr. Shapira.
If you can afford it, I advise you to do it. It's any insurance is based on risk, and as we age, we're going to encounter lots of change in our lives, and things could happen without our even knowing it. And the younger you are when you initiate long-term care insurance, the lower the premiums. Just make sure that you put a cost of living increase into it. It's a kind of a policy. Make sure you have maximum benefits for skilled nursing and assisted living, and if you can get it for residential care, that's fantastic. And look at how you initiate the policy, so that some policies you don't need a physician, you can just activate it by yourself, but most of them require a prescription from a physician to activate it. So look at all those things and make sure you have a reputable person who sells that insurance to you, who's familiar with all the different policies out there, because some of them like to just represent one policy. They make a lot of money off these policies, but it may not be the best policy. So look around.
All right, man. Great question. Great answer, Dr. Shapira. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. We are now, we're going to get bongos in the background. What that means, doctor, is when they start hitting these, there they are.
Do we dance?
Well, we shouldn't dance, but we're going to dance on out of here anyway, and it signals our time out here. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the topic has wide-ranging importance to us all.
Get the book, Dennis. Get the book.
And get that book, New Wrinkle, and newwrinkle.com, and you can go to the website.
Newwrinklebook.com.
Newwrinklebook.com. Dr. Shapira and I are going to be talking about when he's going to return again when we get off air. Until then, I'll see you on Wednesday, by the way. This is Dr. Dennis Courtney with Dr. Eric Shapira saying so long for and impact on your health.